You awake after a rather uncomfortable night of sleeping in your rented spot near the kennels. The familiar stench of human and animal fecal matter occasionally wafts up your nostrils, reminding you that you are definitely no longer in Kansas. Your eyes flicker open, and once you shake the blur from them, you turn you turn your head briefly to off to the left, and in your stupor you notice uh, the young lad, Jasper, sitting in a shitty makeshift scrap chair across from you with a pin pistol in his hand. He watches you with kind of a strange, wide eyed enthusiasm, with a lilting half smile on his features. Do you say anything?
My character will get up slowly.
You
Probably
get
have
up.
a couple bones creak. Oh,
As you rise, he produces a kind of a ruddy rag from his pocket, stained with all sorts of various fluids you can see. He begins to wipe down his pistol as he addresses you. Ah, Jason!
Jacob.
Right. Jeremy. Anyway, I need a favor from you.
Uh-huh.
Right, so... How do I explain this? Hmm. Bobby has, unfortunately sampled too much of our own damn product. As you know, we tend to, transport specialty goods to some of our friends up north, one of the old mines. In exchange for those goods, they tend to, well, give us a cut of what they mine up there, and we can do as we wish with it. Unfortunately, he took too much of our own stash, crashed my personal vehicle, and has found himself unable to continue his driving duties. But that doesn't fix my tusk, which he left in a bit of a sorry state. What say you fix it up and accompany a couple of the boys on a journey to mm, procure some goods to deliver up north in exchange for a crate of dust? How do you feel about that?
Fine. Want me the nearest pile of scrap and I'll have that thing fixed up. No problem.
Right. Well, thankfully, we still have some fuel and some parts left from the last bargain we had struck with one of the villages out east. You can take what you can from that and fix it up. Then he checks an imaginary watch and then kind of laughs to himself. Oh, right. I sold that. Um, hmm. Let's say he counts on one hand. You have this many hours. He holds up two fingers. You just need to get it running. That old girl's been through worse than that. It could take you the whole way and then back. And then when you get back, you can worry about fixing it completely. We got a deal?
Fine.
All right. You're going with four of the boys, and, well, we can't spare any of our dogs, unfortunately, so they're going to have to stay here and continue the work. But I'll let you know if I change my mind. You got any questions?
What am I trading for exactly?
What are you, what?
Trading for?
Oh, well, you don't need to know too many of the details. Safe to say that what you are trading for is very valuable, and if you like working on things, you'll have a lot more things to work on once we get it, because right now we're running a bit low. Spoon, give me I think it is Peepers check here. Give me a Peepers check. Give me give me a 3? You might pass a default, but it shouldn't be too bad. It's not particularly dark and nothing's obstructing. 6, nice. Um, you notice that he has kind of almost kind of a light limeish kind of coloring around his nose and lips. It's rather unusual. He didn't have that last time you spoke to him. And as you kind of move your eyes kind of along his ragged, scarred, tattooed up body, you realize that his hands, particularly the tips of his fingers, tend to be darker um, than the rest of his wrists and palms. Let's see, what would that be under? I should count. So that'd be a brains check, but what the fuck would it be on? Um, hmm. Yeah, give me a. Do you have medical knowledge at all? Call that a specialty check.
Nope.
Hmm. Well, what you do know is it's definitely unusual, and you haven't seen anything like it before, at least not that you can remember. Um, Jasper rises, and for a moment he kind of gives you an up and down before asking you, "Hmm. Say, did they give you anything when you came here?"
Some of that, what do they call it? Dust?
Oh, they gave you some dust, did they? Hmm. How much?
The character shrugs. Like, how much did they give me? Like half a bag full? Like what?
Yeah, about a half a small pouch.
About half a something this size. My character pantomimes with like his fingers.
Kind of holds out his hand and does the give me motion. Tell you what, I could just take it from you, but I'm feeling generous. You part with your dust, and I'll send you off on your way with a couple extra goodies to make the job easier. We got a deal?
Sure. My character
All right.
tosses the packet at him.
Yeah. He tossed the packet at him, and he kind of opens it up very quickly and gives it a look. You can see the spark of glee cross him briefly, and he smiles almost manically. Ah, that'll keep me company for all of 3 minutes. Right. Okay. Head to the armory and talk to Keel. Oh, you don't know who Keel is, do you? Big fat guy. Blue mohawk, got a plate in his head, carries a junk shotgun around. Yeah. Talk to him. He'll set you up for the trip. Oh, and don't forget to fix the tusk. That's important.
Mm-hmm.
Well, get to it. I ain't paying you for nothing. He grins a bit and continues to kind of swagger on along. One of the human females that he has tied up with a rough chain and staked into the ground kind of like barks and claws at him. He kind of nudges her in the side of the face with his knee, albeit somewhat softly, so as not to completely shatter her teeth. She yelps and falls backwards, rubbing the side of her face. What do you wish to do, Mr. Spoon? If you have any questions, I would recommend you ask them now.
How long would my character reckon that it would take to fix a tusk that is damn near beyond repair?
Well, I'm assuming you're heading there right now.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, once you get to the scene, you can kind of give it a brief appraisal, and much without much further in-depth examination, you can already tell this thing is in pretty rough shape. Definitely not the worst you've seen. Two of the tires are loose, one on the front to the left and one on the back to the left as well. Both of them have been kind of bent out of shape. The suspension seems much lower than it should be, even for a tusk. And one of the doors is barely hanging on. Additionally, the top part of it has been kind of crushed inward, not so far as to injure the driver, but enough that any further, and it could actually render the inside of the vehicle difficult to operate, if not impossible. You can also see that the exhaust pipe is sort of bent in an awkward direction, which could cause issues. most of the essential parts seem mostly intact. Some of the armor could do with some repairing, perhaps some replacement. Honestly, you think that if you worked at a decent clip, you could probably have it done within about the time frame he gave you, minus a couple fine touches. But he said you just needed it running. Getting it completely fixed would have to wait. There was
Yep.
a certain level of urgency when he was talking to you. What do you wish? What do you wish to do first? Right now, there's a kind of a crate along with a bunch of goods, kind of haphazardly laid around the tusk, and that fellow that seems to fit the description of the guy that Jasper told you to speak with, Keel, seems to be kind of lingering around the vehicle, and he's kind of rubbing the side of his head and just kind of shaking it. It's kind of his junk tech shotgun pointed at the air as he kind of mutters to himself. Uh, Kind of near the prime driver's seat area, you can see kind of wet splotches of blood that kind of seem to trail off in a direction, as though as though they had been smushed against the ground from two limbs. What do you do?
My
Oh,
character will. Hmm?
oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
My character will begin to start walking up at a casual gait. You Keel.
Yeah, that's what they call me. Jasper send you to me?
Mm-hmm. Bossman says you had some surprises for me.
All right. Well, if you're going with those boys to finish a couple things, then kind of looks you up and down. Well, you can't just be wearing that. That's not a good recipe to keep you alive. Say, do you have anything maybe made of metal that you could wear?
If I did, it'd have been on the cart.
Cart. You had a bunch of stuff you left back there, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Ah. Well, the boys did take quite a bit from that place, didn't they? Maybe if you're lucky, it'll turn up here. But for the moment, let's see if we can put you on a tab. What do you say?
Sounds fine.
All right, let me take a look at you. Spoon, I'm going to examine your character's physicality based on your stats. Relatively average. All right, average build. Yeah, nothing particularly stand out. Just average looking kind of guy. Doesn't look like you need anything specialty. So, yeah. Heel kind of looks you up and down and says, "All right, well, seems like you got a good piece there. You have anything in case they get close to you?"
Got a shiv.
Uh, hmm. Is that really what you want to use? No, no. We got something better for you. Come with me, friend. He puts a giant fat arm around your shoulder. You can kind of feel the distended skin jiggle lightly on the back of your neck. You see, if you're one of us, you're representing us. And while this ain't free, you still got to make us look good. Let's see, let's see. He kind of slowly kind of corrals you into a small, kind of beat up looking shack. He pulls a key out of his pocket and he opens the door and swings it wide, slamming it roughly against the metal siding. He waves you in. It has barely enough space for the both of you as it's fairly cramped. He reaches a hand back behind some of the crates and he sorts through a bunch of garbage before presenting you with what you could only describe as probably one of the most disgusting weapons you've ever seen, at least in terms of its design. He pulls out a rather large, long butcher's cleaver. It's what it seems to look like, but kind of designed a bit differently. You can still see spatterings of rust and dried blood along the sides, but the actual blade itself is kept in good condition. Kind of hands it to you. Here, try this.
A fucking gore cleaver?
Well, yeah. What, you tell me you want to use that? He points at your shiv.
All told, I don't really want to be getting into a scrap in the first place.
Yeah, but if you do you want to use that tiny thing, or do you want to use this?
Let me find some room in my pack.
All right, look. Because you're picky, he reaches a hand over into one of the other crates and pulls forth kind of a smaller, flat blade of sorts. How about this, then? It's a machete. Tell what that is.
Yeah, I can use this.
All right, here. He kind of hands it to you. He marks something down on like a piece of paper he had kept with him, using what appears to be like an old broken crayon. All right. Let's see. You're not really covered. Somebody gets a good hit on you or shoots you, it's all over for you. And well, unfortunately for me, you're useful, so that means we got to give you a bit more. Let's see. He kind of continues to rummage through the crates, occasionally tossing things off to the side or finding an excuse as to why he can't give you something so shitty. Well, all right. Listen. This'll have to do. He pulls up kind of a what you can only describe as like a chest piece along with leg coverings specifically. So torso armor and covering for both your legs. You have, Spoon, bits and bobs on your chest and both legs. This here. That ain't much, but it's better than what you got. Should take a hit from, well, anybody that's using something like that. He points at your scrap knife.
All right.
Continues to rummage through and goes, "Ah, you're in luck." And he pulls out what could only be described as, one sec here, as a full kind of face covering helmet. Here, he hands this to you. Spoon, you have a Raider plate helmet.
Okay.
That's it. Your arms are still completely exposed, but your legs, your chest, and your head are covered. Your head has 2 armor. Your torso and legs have 1 each. So keep that in mind. So basically, if you get hit in the arms, it's going to suck, but any of the other spots, and I mean, it's still probably going to suck, but won't be as bad.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, that should be good enough. Oh, right. Not really much I can do for you with that piece, but he kind of continues to rummage around and give me a luck roll. Oh, you lucky cocksucker.
8.
Okay. Be something good now. All right. Let's see. You like something small or something big? He's shifted crates already and has pried open a completely separate one, and you can see a relatively decent selection of what appear to be junk tech weapons in there.
Well, if I'm paying for it, I might as well take something small.
Small, huh? Rummages through. Let's see. Well, this. He slaps a double barrel spike gun on the table, or slaps a pin revolver, or this. Which one?
My character looks at the double barrel, kind of winces when he thinks of Marcus. And then he points at the pin revolver.
All right, take it.
My character picks it up, looks at it a little bit, like he doesn't know what the fuck he wants to do with it.
Right. Well, since you're with us, you know how we pay for things around here, right?
My character shrugs.
Well, favors. Depending on who you're working with. But to keep things simple, scrap, like everywhere else, or dust, if you have it. Now, how much, it'll depend. You have to work out your own deal. But for me, I prefer to trade in dust. Scrap if you're desperate. But if you have dust and I find out you're holding out on me, we're going to have problems. Right, so let's see. He kind of takes his kind of broken crayon and he kind of scribbles on his sheet. Let's see. We got a machete here. Bits for to the chest. The helmet's nice. That's a really nice helmet. The revolver. That's also pretty nice. Okay. All right. We've done your tallies. Give or take, you should owe me about anywhere in the neighborhood of 55 grams of dust. Now, you're probably asking yourself, how the hell do I get my hands on that, right?
One can presume.
Yeah, well, all of us get paid in it. In case you haven't figured it out, we have an arrangement with one of the other groups working up north. We send them their product, and they send us ours. Jasper splits it with us, and then you can use it for whatever you want. Just take care not to use too much of it on yourself, or you won't be able to pay for anything, and then, then you'll have your own problems. Right, so you can keep all that stuff, provided you pay me back. Sooner rather than later. Jasper keeps a pretty good tally on what he's paying everyone, so I'll know if you're holding out on me. We squared?
We squared. Got one question, though.
Go ahead.
You got, like, I don't even know what you'd call it. A quartermaster sells coffin nails around here.
Nails?
Coffin nails. Smokes.
Oh, smokes. Yeah, you can get them off me, in fact. I don't only manage the armory, I pretty much manage everything around here. Well, most of the things. I don't manage the dogs. That's Jasper's area. Let's see, how many do you want? Do you want one? Do you want two? Pack's gonna cost you. Everybody wants those.
Yeah, give me two.
Two? Makes another note on his he makes another note on his clipboard. Alright, so you're at 60 grams of dust.
Alright.
These things ain't cheap. Good men die for those.
Don't I know it?
It's not because they're hard to come by once we get out there. It's because people kill each other for them. That's the other currency. Alright, do you need anything else?
Nope. Might as well get to fixing the boss's car.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a good idea. If he comes back and it's not at least running, he's going to be mighty pissed.
I can do that.
By the way, what was your name again? Jeffrey? Jason? Jeremiah? Jacob. Right, Jacob. Alright, Jacob. I got you clocked in for 60 grams of dust. I don't know how much he's paying you for this job, but when you get back, at least pay some of this off. Or give it back. In good shape. We got a deal?
Mm-hmm.
Right, well, get on with it. I've got other people to see. He begins to lock up the shed as he kind of guides you out. He mutters under his breath a bit, and then he counts his fingers for some unknown reason, looking over his tiny little scrap of paper that he kind of fits into his pocket. All right, Spoon. Would you like to head to the Tusk and see what magic you can work?
Sure.
Alrighty then. Heading up to the Tusk and giving the crate a bit of an examination, kind of given it a cursory glance, you can tell you have basically what you'll need to give this thing a good fix up. Whether or not you'll be able to do it within a allotted time frame, well, that's another thing entirely. That being said, though, you are particularly skilled. Give me a let's see, mechanics check on vehicles, old tech. I'm assuming you want to. Do you want to have time to spare, or do you want to use all 2 hours? Is there anything you'd like to do that's kind of outside of the scope of what he asked you? Modifications, anything like that?
Nah, my character probably doesn't want to work on a fucking tusk more than he has to.
Okay. Ready then. Give me a check then.
All
I
right.
would call, I would call for a I'd call for a 5 to have it mostly fixed up. If you roll a 10 or higher, you'll actually fix it up with time to spare, and you won't have to fix it up when you get back.
Let's see.
Additionally, if you have anything that reduces costs for fixing things, that would also apply here.
I do. I reduce the cost by 5 when crafting, repairing, or modifying tech that I am familiar with.
All right. Well, this is a lengthy repair. Granted, none of it comes out of your pocket, but you probably save about 5 scrap out of 10, so it only costs 5 scrap for your repair, which is pretty good, all things considered. All right. Give me a check. Let's see what you get. Well, what's your base? It's
My base is 7.
great. So you automatically succeed, but if you break 10, if you make or break 10, then yeah.
I was just
You
making
get-
sure that Gear Doctor doesn't give me the option of taking 4. I can do that, but only when identifying things.
All right, so you need to roll 3 or higher. Nice. Yeah, not only do you manage to fix up the tusk, you also manage to do so with about 30 minutes to spare. You work fast and efficiently. You manage to uh, occasionally, with some assistance from nearby raiders, you manage to fix fix the top hatch, cinching it back into place so that the vehicle can actually be driven and used again. You manage to find you manage to weld the door back on such that it not only opens about as well as it used to, but arguably better with more give when it's being pried open. You manage to cinch the trunk back on for what little cargo it can carry, and you even manage to get the tires, both of them on the left, and the suspension therein, angled just right for optimal turning. In fact, I would say you make the tusk slightly better, much to your chagrin, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, though, it is fixed, and you still do have time. You have about 30 minutes to kill, and you kind of wipe the sweat off your brow and begin to put some of the scrap and other materials away. And you hear a familiar voice kind of call out from behind you. What, you done already?
What?
Well, it is Jasper, and he seems to be walking a pack of dogs, although not literal dogs, but human beings. He yanks on the chain as two of them kind of growl and bark at you. He pulls them back into a sitting position and tells them to stay, and which they both do. Both of them kind of appear relatively similar, disheveled, minimal clothing, lots of bruises and scarring, kind of a confused, wide-eyed, animalistic look. These are people that have been through absolute torture of many varieties. Every time you look at them, you can tell that this is a situation that even in such a brutal setting as this is definitely exceptional. Jasper walks up to you and goes, "Damn, all fixed up," and kind of walks up to the door and he kind of pulls it open. He kind of jiggles it in front of you and he points at it. You see that? He keeps pulling on it. Look! He closes it again and then he opens it. It doesn't get stuck anymore. Huh. Good job.
Thanks.
Oh, well, didn't expect you to be this good. Honestly, you were just supposed to be a replacement for our last guy who, well, he used a bit too much of his own dust, you know? It happens. Oh, right. Well, here. He kind of, he reaches into his pocket and he kind of, he looks you over. You got a pouch?
Do I know what that is?
Yeah, a pouch. It's like just something to carry, like money or anything.
I mean, I
Literally
assume
anything.
something on my clothes, yeah.
Sure. Okay. So you kind of procure kind of a small kind of empty leather sack. Give me that. He kind of does the hand motion.
My character takes it off his vest, I guess, and then hands it to him.
Yep. He opens up his own pouch and he kind of dumps a small kind of greenish powder very gently into your pouch, and then he kind of weighs it in his hand before giving it back. Should be about 10-15 grams, give or take. That's for a job well done. Don't say I'm greedy. He he brings his fingers up to his nose and then kind of wipes it. His nose twitches and his head kind of shakes slightly.
Wasn't
Anyway,
planning on it.
the boys will be here soon. They've got their own ride, but you get to use mine. Oh, don't get too excited. One of the boys will be with you, but you get to drive. I don't trust any of these idiots with my car. Well, don't have too much fun. You got 20 minutes to enjoy yourself. Then they'll be here. Pick up the goods with the boys. Take it to the old mine north. They know the way. Oh, and we'll be counting the stuff when it gets back. So don't try to get cute. Any questions?
Anywhere I can scrounge up something to eat.
What do you need?
My character shrugs.
Well, I know exactly what you need. The same thing everyone else does to do their job around here. He he reaches into his pocket, and after a couple seconds, he pulls out a long, kind of dried-looking stick of beef. Here, this will do you for the day.
All right.
Yeah, well, enjoy. It's my last one. I'm grown kind of attached to it. It's only been in my pocket for a week. Get going.
All right.
All right. What do you wish to do, Spoon? He gave you very lovingly the best meal on the planet, also known as week-old jerky.
God, this place is shit. Ugh. Every time.
Oh, yeah, it's fucking toxic.
Yeah.
Eventually, I'm assuming. Do you wish to look around the camp or do anything with your 20 minutes, or are you just gonna be sad and eat next to the tusk and pray?
Well, I'm sure the jerky, if it's already been around a week, will keep. I'm gonna go look for something else to eat, preferably like something that could pass for a canteen.
All right, fair enough. Sure. Eventually, that doesn't take too long. There aren't too many places here that that tend to stand out. You do see kind of a female raider, or at least a female worker of some kind, kind of stirring something in some sort of large metal pot. She seems to add random ingredients haphazardly, without much concern for measurements or any sort of professionalism. She just kind of sees something, maybe chops it up, if that, and then tosses it in the pot and continues to stir it. She has a cigarette in her mouth, wildly colored hair, short-ish. In fact, half of the side is shaved off. Her lips, the topmost part of her lip is busted open and kind of healed over poorly. It's scarred, and her face is kind of ruddy and rounded, in spite of the fact that she's rather lean with corded muscle. She carries a kind of sort of a modified blackjack with several rusty nails kind of poorly hammered into it. She also dons kind of a notable eye patch and kind of swivels her head briefly to look at you as you approach. She asks you what you want.
Looking for something to eat that ain't jerky.
She kind of asks you what's wrong with jerky.
Nothing the first time. After a week, gums will start to bleed.
She nods. She tells you her name is Matilda, and well, she'd be more than happy to help you in exchange for a bit of dust.
How much?
She tells you about a gram of dust will get you a nice hot plate of mystery stew. The stew, if you care to look, is a conglomeration of bullshit, to put it specifically. You can see vegetables, you can see random sort of half-cooked meats, bones from presumably animals of some kind, hopefully, and kind of a has kind of a strong, kind of gamey smell with just a hint of some sort of odd herb that gives it kind of an eye-watering kind of aroma. Mm,
Smells like home. I'll take a bowl.
Yep, she pulls out kind of rather generously sized wooden bowl, and she kind of sticks the spoon in and stirs the stirs the soup around. A layer of kind of brownish film had formed at the top, but she breaks it up rather quickly, liquidizing the stew once again, and she just plops a rather large portion. She holds her leather pouch out for about a gram of dust.
All right, I give her about a gram.
Yep, she takes the gram and she kind of you'll notice that nobody here really has anything to measure. They just seem to sort of have a rough inkling about how much they're being given. Obviously a skill that comes with practice. She kind of gives you a nod and then cinches off her pouch and goes back to cleaning up the area and just tossing whatever she can find into the stew. There's a couple shitty wooden tables nearby in all sorts of repair. Some of which still have plates of rotten food and other things kind of strewn about. There's a bloody knife sticking into the tops of one of the tables. Blood looks fresh, although in small amounts. You can also see that there's several knife marks in the wood in a particular pattern. Do you wish to sit here and eat, or do you wish to eat elsewhere?
I'll eat here.
Yep. You sit down at the cleanest part of the table and set your stew out to the side. It is time for the moment of destiny. Do you take a bite?
Yep.
Yep. You kind of stir the stew around a bit, and then you take the plunge. You bring the spoon to your lips, and it's all right. A bit strong, kind of gamey. Really gamey, actually. There's a bit of a kind of a soury tang that lingers for about half a second in your mouth before some sort of kind of herb takes it away from you. The aftertaste is definitely not as foul as the jerky you would have otherwise eaten, which you had by now not gotten used to, as nobody does in this world. But it's a warm meal, it's not jerky, and it's relatively well made. That being said, the bar is low, so it's terribly made, but compared to what you generally eat, it's good. All right. As you enjoy your stew, another couple raiders walk up to the pot and begin to negotiate for their lot. Much like you, they also seem to give this woman an allotment of dust, presumably the same as you did. They sit at their own table, and they kind of begin to joke amongst themselves and brag about their exploits and otherwise express excitement for the next venture out into the wastes. Otherwise, nothing entirely unheard of or interesting happens. Most of the men and women who belong to the Raiders themselves tend to dress in a fairly typical fashion, very 80s punkish, with a with a side bit of obvious injury, self or otherwise, and occasionally some of them will have kind of a greenish sort of twinge, kind of at their fingers, around their nose and mouth, sometimes on their chest and neck area. By this point, you've at least figured out that whatever it is you pay for things with is some kind of drug that you just don't know about. Whatever it is, it's valuable. You know that much. Valuable enough that it's been a stand-in for scrap. Do you have any scrap on you?
Supposedly I have like 63.
Yeah, so you have a reasonable amount of scrap, but they didn't seem interested. It seems like the currency here is whatever this dust is primarily. You currently have 15 on you, um, I think. Um, if you're wondering, you're indebted to Keel by 60 grams of dust. If you want to pay any of that back, find him and just let me know. All right. That being said, once you finish your meal, you've got about a couple minutes to head back to the Tusk and get ready for the operation. Do you wish to do that, or do you have something else on your mind?
Yep, I'll go ahead and bottle on over.
Right. Yeah, you finish up your meal and kind of leave your dish and your spoon there and head back to the Tusk. Doesn't take you too long, a minute or so. And when you get back, you notice that all the men that you're going to travel with are there. There's four of them. However, three of them seem to be taking an entirely different vehicle. There's one that stands next to the Tusk waiting for you. Rather tall, kind of gangly fellow. Um, he's entirely bald with kind of a several metal plates along his body and his head, and his arm and chest. And you can also tell that one of his arms specifically is entirely missing from at least the midsection down. That has been replaced by what you could only assume is some sort of improvised spear tip or knife of some kind. Um, two of his fingers on his remaining hand are missing, and the three that he has left lovingly clutch some sort of fat smoke that he takes a long drag from as he turns to face you. Ah, Jeffrey!
Jacob.
Jacob, right. Well, you ready to go?
Mm-hmm. Where are we going? My character
Oh,
opens the door.
well, we're going to the old mine, and I can guide you the whole way. And by guide you, I mean you just follow the boys over there and try not to crash into anything. You just fix this thing, and you crash it out there, and well, I don't think you want to know what had happened at that point. Questions?
My character leans out of the door. Yeah, you getting in?
Yep. He pulls open the tusk, the right hand passenger side, and he gets in. He kind of leans up from the top and he kind of looks around. All right, boys, the old mine, lead the way. The other three men begin screeching and yowling like apes, slapping the side of their vehicle. Two of them even fire their pin pistols in the air. They get into a kind of a vehicle that's similar to the Tusk, but it seems to be more practically designed with a mounted pin gun and a couple other and a couple other notable designs. Without a role, you know this is just what people would tend to call a raiding vehicle or a wasteland raider. This is obviously very popular amongst raiders, but there are people who kind of need a budget combat vehicle, and this tends to fill the role pretty well. All right, the vehicles start up, and they begin to drive away from the encampment and toward this place known as the Old Mine. Do you wish to do anything before you set off?
Nope.
All right. Okay. S- Uh, okay. All right. Your vehicles rip across the desert fairly effortlessly. You follow the men in the Raider as they lead the way. Occasionally, they'll pop out of the vehicle, pop out of the Raider, and fire either the mounted pin gun or their own personal weapons at whatever random animal or bypasser they happen to go by. If they're people, they tend to get behind cover or otherwise flee. If they're animals, similarly so. Raiders aren't just highly sadistic muggers. They also bully people for fun without any compunctions of taking anything of worth. They just do it, and they enjoy it and get quite good at it. Hmm. Spoon. Eventually, about a couple hours from the Mad Dog's encampment, you can see a kind of a small makeshift kind of scrap town embedded into a side of the mountain coming into view. Um, over the um, over the rough dunes and with some of the sands beginning to pick up, it's a bit difficult. But squinting your eyes a bit, you can kind of make out that rough shape. This particular area, as mentioned, is rather hilly, and there are some hills and rocks that are kind of somewhat narrow and closed in, and this is almost like a passage. However, the section in between is relatively clear and allows the vehicles to pick up tremendous speed downhill before the uphill travel. Spoon, give me a road raging check as you reach the bottom of the hill. Give me a 5.
4.
Okay. As you continue to drive, you see almost in an instant the raider ahead of you uh blow up into the air as one of its tires flies off to the right and the vehicle itself flips several times over. The man to your right screeches suddenly, "What the?" You respond as best as you're capable, and you veer the tusk uh, off to the left, but you're just short and shy of the reflexes required to make the best of landings, causing the vehicle itself on your side to smash into a nearby rock and dent the left side door inward.
Ow.
Your body, Spoon, I would say that you take 1 wound from that to the left arm. You can feel the hard metal of the tusk's door slam into your left arm as the vehicle almost tips over, barely remaining upright. You hear the noise of the other vehicle clattering along the dunes until eventually it comes to a complete stop. The fellow to your right in your vehicle, if you look over, you can see that his body visibly twitches, and your eyes are immediately brought to a shard of metal that has penetrated the left side of his skull.
Ain't nothing I can do about that.
Yep. His body currently kind of blocks up the right-hand side of the tusk. The vehicle kind of sits motionless at the moment as you kind of recover from the shock of the crash. Your arm, at the moment, relatively numb, likely due to an adrenaline rush. What do you wish to do?
Alright, I guess I'm gonna try to scan the horizon and see just like what the fuck happened to the raider.
Yeah. So the Wasteland Raider, based on what you can see, has tumbled off completely to the right-hand side of the canyon and crashed, flipping over completely, crushing the mounted pin gun and basically all but one of the men that was in the Raider vehicle. The lone survivor kind of attempts to crawl out from underneath, covered in blood and with an intestine wrapped around his head. You can see that he crawls forward wordlessly, gurgling as he chokes on his own blood. His left leg severed off closer to the top, and his arm kind of bent in an awkward direction, the bone snapped and showing. He flips over and kind of gurgles. You see, from behind one of the nearby rocks, a man in a distinctive hat and a trench coat pops up, along with some other men just like him, similarly dressed. They all wear rather notable kind of Old West hats, and they seem to have revolvers drawn, all but the man in the center, who seems to have a much bigger gun. He walks up to the raider with his posse, and he looks down at him. He leans down and kind of flicks some sand on the raider's open wound, causing the raider to what you could only assume to be gurgle in pain. The man kind of looks over the raider, and he kind of speaks, getting uncomfortably close to the dying man's face. So, thought you could just come back for more, huh? Like nobody would do anything about it. You see the man kind of take a small cigarette, and with the last bit left, he burns it into the raider's forehead. The raider gurgles in pain, and the man says, "Folks like you just can't keep getting away with this. Well, you paid the price, and your boss is next if he tries anything. All right, boys, let's search these vehicles and take them back, break them up for scrap, or give them to somebody that needs it. Check that one over there. Keep the guns trained on it, just in case. You never know with these scumbags." All right. You see, two of the men that were accompanying this other fellow kind of walking up toward your tusk. They have their revolvers trained on the vehicle, but they haven't seen you yet.
So the guys in the guy in the passenger seat is fucking dead as a doornail, as far as my character can see.
Like, he seems super dead. Like he's got a shard of metal kind of impaled through his right eye. He's very much dead.
Okay. I'm going to open the passenger side door, and I'm going to kick his cadaver out of the side of the vehicle.
All right. You the passenger side door, as you begin to open it, you hear two of the men kind of shout out, "Still alive in there? Come out, asshole!"
Yep.
All right. What do you do, Spoon? The body kind of flops out from the tusk and hits the dunes with a thud. You are now currently exposed, but you haven't been fired on. They can see you now.
Yep. My character is gonna, after hauling the body or kicking it or however the fuck we want to describe this out of the vehicle, I'm gonna open my door, assuming it still opens.
It's thoroughly jammed shut. Like you're basically smashed into the rock so hard that it's kind of inverted and crushed in, like it's jammed in.
All right, so I suppose I can't just like try and kick it off.
It's you're basically up against the rock still. Like the vehicle's wedged up against it, so that's possible with the strength you have.
Noted. Okay, so if I'm up against the rocks on like the driver's side, I'm probably just gonna start slowly waddling out. And assuming that they don't get to me within time, my character is probably gonna take off the Raider helmet, put it on the hood, not the hood of the car, the roof of the car, assuming the fucking tusk has a roof.
Yep.
And I'm gonna pull out a coffin nail. I'm gonna sit on the hood.
All right. Yep. As you basically pull yourself up from the vehicle, and begin to take your Raider helmet off. The men basically lower their guns and give you a look up and down. You don't look like one of them at all.
It's good to know you have working eyes. Oh, fuck
Well,
me.
you don't
I
dress
picture
like
myself.
them. You got none of the markings. See this? He points. He points at the guy on the ground who has kind of a crudely drawn tattoo in the right side of his neck. Although it's not really a tattoo. It's basically a scarified, rough image of an animal of some kind. They all have that somewhere. Well, strip down. Let's see if you have it. If not, then you're not one of them. In fact, chances are they probably kidnapped you, if I had to guess.
My character looks at them with what is probably like a weary and somewhat annoyed and likely in pain look, a mixture of that. I was like, all right, let me get this crap off.
Yeah, well, don't hurry on our account. If you want to get that arm fixed up, you should probably make a career out of it. He kind of
Mm-hmm.
motions at your arm, which is kind of bruised and blackened with a large, nasty gash on the forearm. Not lethal, but if it got infected, it could get nasty.
My character will probably take the time to like light one of the coffin nails or like whatever smoke brand that he has, and then start basically complying.
Yep, you light a smoke, which is the most important thing to be doing in the situation,
Correct.
and begin to basically strip down. It doesn't take you too long. Most of the stuff that you wear is fairly simple. Pull it off, or you just undo a couple straps, and it just falls off of you. They give you a look up and down at all the parts that matter before exchanging a look between themselves. Yeah, this is one of the ones they probably napped. We should probably turn him into the folks of the mine. Maybe they know him. Hey, you from that mine? North.
From quite a bit is a ways away, but are they referring to like the settlement that was just sacked?
No, they're
Like I
referring to a
imagine they
different.
wouldn't be.
Yeah, they're referring to a different settlement.
Okay. No, quite a distance away from that, but they nabbed me when I was in. Fuck me, what was the name of that place that was fucking run by
Mills.
Gunter? Mills?
Yeah.
They nabbed me from Mills when I was there doing some fucking contract work.
Mills, huh? I assume that it's no longer there then?
Mm-hmm.
Pricks. Looks like they've been ramping up the slaving lately. Well, that's why they hired us.
Bounty hunters.
Something like that. You see, wait, what are you even doing coming up? I mean, I think I have an idea. But if you're not one of them, why the hell aren't you enslaved or dead?
Well, as of just recently, I was the one who got this piece of shit working. My character kicks the side of the hood that he's currently sitting on.
Right, well, the way so you a debt for that one. The sarcasm drips heavily from his tone. Kind of looks you up and down awkwardly. And?
They had us running up to. You said something about a mine, right?
Right.
This lot were
We have.
taking me to some place that they apparently had some kind of deal with. My character shrugs. I
Yeah,
wasn't in
well.
on the details.
We'll explain it on the way back. Seeing as how you're not one of them. And well. We'll take that chance. One of those folks at the mine knows you. Well, then maybe we can get extra for your body, but, well, if you're not one of them, then, well, that's on you. You negotiate your price. Or they'll just throw you out. We don't really know. Our vehicle's up on that hill over there, but it's a couple minutes away. And put some damn clothes on. This isn't for fun, you know.
My character starts fucking rifling with his pants. He's like, yeah.
As for the mine, you mean to tell me you don't know why you're headed up there, huh?
Well, everyone who's supposed to know why is dead, so nope, I don't.
Yeah, well,
Something about a
hey,
trade?
right. Well, come on then. Let's get to our wagon, and we'll tell you the whole tale.
Something tells
So,
me the knowledge that this thing still probably runs doesn't gonna get me off the hook, is it? My character points to the tusk.
uh, wha- no, no, probably not. We'll have to come and grab these later. We can break them down into scrap or something. We'll repair one of them. But between you and me, I don't like looking at that piece of shit.
And I didn't like working on it. All right. Oh, my character grabs the helmet off of the fucking roof as I assume he's like finished clothing himself while this conversation is happening. He's like, any
Yep.
idea how much I can get for one of these pieces of shit?
What piece of shit? That
The helmet.
helmet. I mean, keep it if you got nothing better. You look like an asshole, but well, that's the price you pay for keeping your head protected, isn't it?
Suppose.
Look, I'll be straight with you. If they were going to do what I think they've been doing for months now, there's a there's another town on the way that they stop on occasionally. You see, the folks up at that old mine, well, they have a deal with those raiders only in so much as they have to. Long and short of it is they kidnap people from that village, take them up to the mine, leave them there, tell them to mine this dust shit, and they'll give them what they need to survive, essentially. And if they stop, well, then they'll hunt them down like dogs and enslave them. And so everybody that works in that place is scared for their lives. But we just happen to be in the area, and, well, they begged us to help. Only problem is, they don't really have much in the way of scrap. They need all of that to survive, so what do you think they paid us with?
Yes.
Yeah, well, this dust shit's apparently pretty valuable, at least to these people here in this area. It's kind of the stand-in for scrap at the moment, but I wouldn't do any of it. It'll rot your brain. Speaking of that, do you have any of that stuff on you?
Yeah, about like 11 grams.
Yeah, well, take it from us. Don't even do a gram of it. But
Looking at the dots.
what I will say is, depending on the kind of folks you deal with, that stuff can fetch you some pretty nifty items. But don't go trading it with honest folk, or at least folk that can trade in anything a bit more valuable. Problem is, whenever they take some folks from some nearby settlement and give them to these miners, well, the people at those mines, they used to just mine iron, but that changed pretty quickly once they discovered the deep veins of this shit. Then the iron got put on hold, and they were basically forced at gunpoint to mine this dust. And as they brought new people, well, the people in the village put those people on the mines instead of their own. I don't like the idea, but, well, hell. I don't ask questions, they just pay me to fix a problem. And as far as I'm concerned, it's fixed. They're paying us in dust, which I ain't thrilled about, but ain't nobody else in these parts offering money for work, so we'll take what we can get. As for you, how are you making any scrap in these parts? You know of a place?
Well, till recently, I was just making a living being an appliance repairman and a mechanic.
Well, can't imagine you find much use up in that mine. They barely have enough scrap to keep their own shit going. But one of the men kind of strokes his chin. He looks over to his friend. His friend kind of tilts his head off to the side and kind of gives him a nod. What say you come work with us on our way out? We tend to make stops from time to time, and, well, our job's only half done. You see, we have one more thing we have to do. You happen to know where the dogs are stationed?
I can give you rough directions back the way I came.
Right. Well,
Or I could lead you there.
great. Why not both? I can imagine that you're probably itching to get even.
A bit.
Right. You know how to shoot?
Frankly, not worth a shit.
Gives you a bit of a nod. All right. Well, seeing as how that Raider's totaled, we'll make you a deal. One of us will ride with you in that piece of shit. The other two of us, well, we'll head back up to our own vehicle. We're gonna pay those bastards back for what they did to those folks in the mines, and then, well, we'll go from there. Say, they have anything valuable in that shithole?
Character thinks a couple seconds. One of the other guys they took with me was, well, the only other guy they took me was, some insane weirdo named Professor Quack. He's got, a partially working robot.
He's got a what? One of the guys' eyes widen. You're playing with me, right?
Remember, I said partially working. They kind of drove into it and tore off the thing's legs.
Is he your friend, or?
My character kind of motions his hand parallel to the ground and then waves it as a He kind of just got one of my buddies killed, so he's on thin ice.
Well, listen. If what you say about this guy is true, and he's got something useful, maybe keep him alive. And if it turns out he's one of those scumbags, then, well, we know what to do with those, right?
My character nods.
Right.
Do you want me to give you like some kind of idea on like numbers, distribution of the
Yeah.
camp?
Anything you can, anything you can give us. Start snitching. Faster we do this, the better. None of us are ready to die because we know the reputation the dogs have. Thankfully, most of them are cracked out of their damn mind on dust, so it shouldn't be too difficult. By the time we get there, it'll be night. Well, that should make it easier. Plus, we use their own damn vehicle against them. Heh, that'll do it.
Speaking of being cracked out on dust, that's actually a thing in your favor. Supposedly, last guy I replaced killed himself using this fucking shit. So most of their vehicles are in disrepair. The only thing that works now is well, my character looks at the tusk that he's sitting on. This fucking thing, and I don't know if anything else works, but with that fucking shit they drive, who knows? My character will then start like going into details like, yeah, they got a kennel around here, and they do this shit here, and that. Basically just like general details I'm sure they could use.
Listen, is there anything we need to be kind of worried about? What are they looking at for arms?
They seem to got some kind of excess. Half of them at least seem to have some kind of pin garbage. I haven't noticed any of them have anything like old techie or new techie. Of course,
You
I
said
reckon you'll
all.
come. Say what?
You said all their vehicles are totaled, huh?
I wouldn't say total, but most of them are in disrepair at least.
Well, they won't have time to get to them by the time we get there, it'll be nighttime. Probably be able to mince a few of them before they even know what's happening. All right, who's leading them?
Some 18, 20-year-old fucking kid named Jasper.
Ain't much for killing a kid, but figure he's lived a good 20 years. Right. We'll follow you in our vehicle, and one of us will go with you, just in case.
Oh yeah, if you want to recognize the kid, he's typically carrying around like two chicks, barely clothed, chains, making them act like dogs. Fuck me, I hate getting into this. No. My character starts like climbing back up into the car.
All right. Oh, right, your arm. Look, we don't got anything for that, but one of them takes out a small kind of a flask of sorts, and he kind of opens it. All right, the stuff is precious, but just hold still and try not to cry. He holds out his hand, and he attempts to take your arm. Do you let him?
Yep.
Yep. He pours some terribly burning liquid on your wound. Um, let's see. I would say, give me a cojones check.
Don't have
Give
any.
me. Well, it'll be a 4. Give me a roll and just pray. If you fail, you cry out in pain.
So what do I roll for this? Like muscles?
I believe that would be a determination plus your cojones.
I mean, I
Pretty
have
sure
determination.
it's discipline. Sorry, I think it's discipline plus cojones plus a d6. And if you have any talents that help you with that, then you factor those in too.
Discipline plus cojones. Okay. Hey.
5.
5.
You wince slightly, but don't end up making any real noises. He kind of tears a strip of cloth off of one of the dead raiders and pours what you can only assume to be some sort of alcohol on your wound, and he kind of wraps it up as best he can. Your arm is usable. It's not broken or anything, but it does throb and it kind of hurts a bit. You're not suffering any penalties, but it's unpleasant. Well, there. About the best I can do.
Thanks.
Should have somebody who knows what they're doing look at that, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, get in. We need to pay these scumbags a visit. All right. One of the rangers with his revolver gets in the tusk with you. The other ranger heads back with the other fellow, who actually didn't approach you at all or speak or say anything. He seemed preoccupied with the raider and the remnants of its crew. However, within a few minutes, what appears to be their vehicle comes into sight over the hill as they catch up to you in the tusk. The engine of the tusk roars loudly, and I'm assuming you keep moderate speed.
Sure.
Well, it's just your vehicle's faster than
Yeah.
theirs, so yeah. All right, yeah, you keep the vehicle at a moderate speed and allow them time to catch up. Nightfall begins to approach rather quickly, and as the darkness sets in, the fellow to your right eventually speaks to you. He had been silent for a majority of the trip. You tell he's been keeping an eye on you, and occasionally looking around the wastes, hand always on his revolver. So, what are you in for?
What do you
Were you
mean?
always in Mills? Is that where you lived? You're from
Nope.
somewhere else?
I'm from a place up north. Pretty far up north. Go from place to place. Fix broken shit. Move on.
Parents?
Nah. They died when I
Hmm.
was 26.
Starvation? Raiders? Bad
Mix.
luck? Yeah, that'll happen. We used to live in one of the old ranger territories. That was a long time ago, but it was nice then. But, well, you know how things go in these wastes. Too many greedy fucks ruined it for all of us. Now we're back to this.
Yep. Back to fixing shit like this fucking thing. It was my character like lightly taps the fucking steering wheel of the tusk.
Yeah, well, you do what you can to stay alive, but
Uh-huh.
careful who you work for. Look, I'll be honest with you. In your situation, I would have done the same thing. If there's someone's going to kill me, then I just do what I can to stay alive and make some scrap. But it just never sits right with me if I know something I did led to a bunch of other innocent people dying. That's why I do what I do. I mean, I ain't no saint, but we got lines, you know?
My character nods. Well, you're
At
probably a
least,
better shot than I am. My character slowly reaches for his fucking pin revolver and puts it on the dash.
Don't worry about it. I got my own. Plus, we could use the extra gun. You think you're just gonna get to sit in this thing the whole time? Well, keep it on you.
All right.
Just don't point it at me, obviously.
I gotta be that stupid.
Hey, is that it? He kind of interrupts the conversation. He points to what you can see and recognize as the Mad Dog's kind of hideout in the distance, partially obscured by the kind of the sandstorm that seems to be picking up. Although it's rather light and not too aggressive, it is definitely going to be one of those days. It provides cover for your vehicles, both in terms of noise and visual.
Yeah.
Oh.
That looks like the shithole.
Right. Well, let's stop over here while we can still see the rest of the boys.
All right.
Well,
how about that pile of rocks over there? Probably get some cover.
yeah, wave them in. We'll discuss a plan and go in and say a couple hours, then it'll be nighttime.
All right.
All right. Okay. You you drive on up behind some of the rocks, and you park there. The other bounty hunters also drive their vehicle up. Your buddy exits the vehicle, and he kind of waves for you to do the same.
I can play.
All right. You get out of the vehicle from his side, since yours is still rather mucked up and difficult. Door seems to be destined to be jammed forever, in spite of how hard you work on it or how well you fix it. The bounty hunters, at least the men you assume to have been bounty hunters, they all kind of find some rocks or some soft sand to sit on, and they kind of give you a look up and down. Right. So we're gonna wait till nighttime to hit these fucks. Numbers. What are we looking at? The man with the kind of long rifle looks at you.
All right, Brian. Would I have an idea of how many people are in this camp?
Yeah. If you had to guess, and when they say people, they you assume they just mean raiders, people that are combat capable. If you had to count, you'd probably say that on average there tends to be about anywhere from 8 to 12 raiders. However, there are definitely much more than 20 basically slaves. However, they tend to be locked up at night. And most of the raiders, with the exception of a few, are usually sleeping. There's usually a couple that are kind of lingering about, cracked out of their mind, drinking, who knows what else. Jasper always tends to go to sleep early for some reason. You've actually been in his area. You're one of the few people that's actually like been in his area past a certain time. And based on what you remember, there was one room that you hadn't actually been in that was just off to the left of his personal kind of makeshift throne room. You can only assume that is probably where he sleeps.
All right.
That would likely. You also remember where that is, so you could point these guys in that direction.
Okay. Well, for assholes are probably gonna shoot back, I'd reckon no less than 8, no more than, what was it, 12, Brian?
Anywhere from 8 to 12, give or take.
No less than 8, no more than 12, give or take. There's about 20 people, slaves. I don't really know what to call them in this kind of situation. And sitting in a kennel usually.
They gonna fight for these assholes?
My character kind of scratches his chin for a little bit. I don't reckon that they're gonna be too indisposed to fight for him, but most of them have been torture. They do weird shit around here. Make them act and think like dogs.
Yeah, well, that's why they're called the Mad Dogs. It ain't because of the Raiders. It's because of the poor folks they take and break. Met one of them that escaped once. Man, the man with the long rifle takes a long kind of drag of his cigarette. Couldn't get anything out of him. Not a word. Not a thing. Ate, slept, shit. A couple weeks later, he offed himself. Whatever they do to those folks, it ain't right. But if they attack you, well, it's nothing personal. You know what you got to do. Avoid it if you can, but sometimes they're just too far gone. As for the rest of these fucks, kill as many of them as you can. The only reason they didn't do you in is because you're useful. I imagine that gets you by quite a bit. Is anyone in there that's a good sort like you, or are most of them just scumbags?
There's that weirdo I mentioned, Professor Quack. My character shrugs like, I didn't name the fucker.
What a name. Is that a nickname or is it a real name?
I don't know, I'm hoping for nickname, but then that means he never told me his real name, which, it's fair.
Right. What does he look like?
My character describes him.
You want him alive or?
Yeah, he's the robot guy I talked about.
Mm. Well, it
The
could be useful. We don't want to waste a talent like his.
Yeah,
Huh.
other than that, the only one I can think of wasn't the fucking asshole up for themselves. I guess the bartender, but she just seemed to enjoy the privilege of being a senior member. My character is like, he doesn't know how to describe this nonsense. Like he just like shrugs and
Look, I'll be honest with you. If they don't look anything like you or your buddy, which is to say out of place, they're probably a scumbag.
fair.
We deal with them very specific. Right. So here's the plan. You see those flimsy walls?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you're just driving through them with that tusk and you're gonna hit as many of those fucks as you can on the way in. You know
I
where
can
they
do that.
sleep. You know where they sleep, yeah?
Yeah, my character starts like, I don't know, I like pick up like a fucking stick or something. I start like drawing really fucking crude images, like a giant circle of the camp or over whatever the fuck the thing is. And it's like, yeah, they sleeping like right about here, like from this position, shit like that.
Right. You said there was 8 to 12 of them. So, here's the plan I got. You take this fucking thing and you drive it through the wall and into that shit hovel and you grind up as many of them as you can. As for us, you said this guy, what was his name? Jasper, whatever. He's in here, right?
Should be.
Right. We'll go and find this fucker and we'll drag him out. Preferably kicking and screaming. Mm. If you get caught, or if you have to stand and fight, just take as many of them out with you as you can. If we find your buddy, well, we'll let him out. But if he starts shooting at us, well, we can't make any promises.
I wouldn't expect him to go out without a fight, but good luck to you.
Right. One last thing.
Yeah.
We survived this, and if you are who you claim to be, well, you could come with us. We could use someone with your skill. We ain't got anybody to fix our wagon up. And as for your buddy, well, if we don't have to shoot him, he could come with us as well. We don't know how to fix things, but we know how to make money and where to find it. Uh, we just don't want to work for these sorts. He kind of motions his head toward the raider camp.
Right.
Right. Well, get some shut eye in and a couple hours. Oh yeah, we're gonna end the dogs tonight, and then from there we'll head back to to the old mine, tell the folks there the problem is solved. We'll get our pay. And then you, your friend, and, well, anybody else that survives, maybe some of the good folks in there, we can discuss other deals.
Alright.
Alright, we clear?
We clear.
Alright, well, night-night, sunshine. Alright, Spoon, I really don't want to do this battle without Debo.
Fair.
I want to have Debo, like, I want to explain the situation to Debo. What I'm planning to do is, like, I'm going to have you both in the game, and I'm just going to launch the attack, and Debo's not going to know what's going on. And you're basically going to be on the other side, and Debo's going to be on his side. And I'm only going to describe the attack as though it's coming from, like, NPCs, and he's not going to know you're with them until the last second. So it's going to be good times.
I mean, he might be able to figure it out. Fucking, he knows that my character is the only one who knows how to fix shit other than him.
Yeah, but he might just forget, panic, and just assume that they're getting fucked with randomly. But I really want to do the fight with him there because it's going to be a good meme. Like, you just know it's going to be funny. I'm going to describe what's going to happen, and I because the plan is solid. I mean, these guys aren't tactical geniuses; they're just fucking raiders.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that setup has got to happen. So next time Devo's available, oh yeah, dude, that's going to be the funniest.